Hello, everyone. Welcome to IT Tech Talk. I'm your host, Joel Ward, and with me is Nick. Nick, thanks for joining me again.
Thank you for having me, Joel. It's always a pleasure to be on.
Yeah. So this is a different episode for those who actually know Nick has been on my show a couple times, and we normally talk, different topics. Today, Nick is actually going to be talking about himself, and we are going to be asking him questions about his 9 to 5 podcast and what he does, and get to know him a little better. So, Nick, let's start off by what is 9 to 5. What made you want to do it, and why is it? Why it has driven you to keep pushing to get rid of the 9 to 5?
Yeah. So I guess to answer your first question, what is 9 to 5? 9 to 5 to Freedom is actually my full brand, and it started about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And the whole idea came from I started building a business with my dad and my brother. And as we're building this business, I thought, why not show people like how to build a business as well? Because I always wanted to build a personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, well, I'm building this business. Let's try to build a personal brand. Let's show people how to build a business. And the whole reason I wanted to build a business in the first place was to escape the 9 to 5. So I want to take people on that journey from going from a 9 to 5 job into full-time entrepreneurship, build something of your own, something where you don't have to be restricted by another employer, or someone who's telling you when and where to be and how much you're going to make. That just I hate that idea, is that you're going to tell me how much I'm worth and when I can and can't be where I want to be. But if I can take that into my own hands, I directly control how much money I make. I directly control when I'm going to be somewhere and where I'm going to be. And that's kind of the whole premise behind the brand. Something that I'm very specific with in the brand is that I'm by no means an expert of all things online business. I'm not claiming to be an expert. I don't know everything, but what I can do is show you what I am doing, show you
Mm-hmm.
what's working, show you what's not working. I'm not going to hide that from you either. Like if something's plain not working, or I've been trying to run Facebook ads and I've been just bombing at running these Facebook ads. I've been pumping money into it and getting nothing done. But I want to share that too, because everyone's going through the same thing. And it's, for me, I always looked at content creators and business owners and all this and see, like, wow, look at what they've built. I
Mm-hmm.
could never build that. But you see more and more, there's people, they're just normal people like you and me, building these businesses, getting financial freedom, being able to
Mm-hmm.
step away from their job and do what they want. And that's kind of where the whole idea of the brand came from.
Yeah, and that's actually really really cool. And you doing that, it's just I've been trying for the longest time to step away from the 9 to 5, and so far I've settled at where I'm at because everything I'm doing is actually progressing faster than I expected. So I'm like, I don't really feel like I've left 9 to 5. I feel like I meant that wrong. I've already left the 9 to 5. It's still a 9 to 5 job, but it's something I appreciate and love doing. So as far as that goes, you creating your own brand. You had some phenomenal guests on your show, the 9 to 5 podcast, and I've actually enjoyed. I haven't listened to all of them, but I've listened to at least 5 of your recent episodes recently, and just hearing the guests, hearing them come on, hearing your questions, and it's basically, from my perspective, is you're learning while they're telling you something. You're learning something that they know, and so it's basically a back and forth of learning knowledge. And there's some things that you have talked about that you were learning that I was learning at the same time. So I feel like your 9 to 5 brand is actually not just helping you, but it's helping so many other people who are probably in the same boat as you and me.
Yeah, and really that's the whole idea. And with the podcast specifically, it's the 9 to 5 podcast. And that was the premise of it. I wanted to bring people on who, like I said, I'm not an expert. So
Hmm.
maybe I can bring people on who are experts. And it's been like like you said, it's a learning experience for me because I'm able to get inside the minds of these experts. And that's kind of the tagline for the show, is get inside the minds of entrepreneurs and business owners, because I want to uncover what made them successful. How were they able to make that transition from a
Hmm.
9 to 5 into their own job? And what's really cool is, even though they are successful, they are people like you and me.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not Elon Musk. it's not Jeff Bezos. We've talked about these guys on previous episodes,
Yeah, we
but
have.
they kind of really blow out of proportion like what it means to be an entrepreneur and what's actually possible because they're on a whole nother level.
Hmm.
But when you see people that are just a few steps ahead of you making it, like that's inspirational because you're like, I could do that too. Like he's
Yeah.
not that far ahead of me, and look what he's doing, or look what she's doing. Like it's for me, that's been one of the biggest like inspiration and motivational pieces behind getting into this and why I'm doing it.
Yeah, I like that. I have two questions actually, but I want to go over this first. I do agree with you as far as like being entrepreneur. Elon Musk and all them, they have done it, and yeah, they may have started out slow, but um, it is obtainable. Like there are so many ways to obtain. I've actually talked to several people, and I've had email conversations the last week with people who have attained it already, and you don't have to have billions of dollars to be an entrepreneur or a CEO of your own company. You can be a CEO of a company of four people and you're making at least $100,000 a year. You're still an entrepreneur. Doesn't, I hate the people, before I get to my questions, I hate the people that literally say to be an entrepreneur, you have to be this set of rules. That's not true. And I know you know that for a fact. I've successfully built a business and I call myself a CEO and founder. And people are like, you shouldn't call yourself that. You should call yourself a business owner. I'm like, why? Why should I do that? I'm allowed to do that because I have successfully grown my brand. And they're like, well, you're not a CEO. CEOs are this. I'm like, no, CEOs and founders are not just billionaires. They're not millionaires. They're not Jeff Bezos. They're not Mark Zuckerberg. They may be CEOs and founders, but they are not what a CEO and founder is meant to be. And that really irritates me when people say, that's what it's meant to be, and it's not. I consider you, your own entrepreneur of your own thing you're doing. I consider certain friends of mine who have their own businesses doing car wash stuff and all that stuff as entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter what you do, how big you are, you can be an entrepreneur. And I think we will talk more about this in the future, but we're actually writing a book. You, me, and another person, Maddie Hunt, are writing a book to discuss success and how to get success without, uh, you know, obtaining it through wealth or fame. So, and I really hope we can get this written because I really think you, me, and her have some great things to offer. But that's off topic. That's another episode. But my one question, and this is something I've been actually meaning to ask you personally, before we even jumped on this. What made you ask the question? What is your superpower? Where did that come from? Is that something that you thought of off the top of your head, or what was it? Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, for just for reference for everyone listening, at the beginning of every episode, after we introduce the guests and all that, I ask every single one of my guests what their superpower is. And I honestly, I think I had heard the question posed one time on a show, just like randomly,
Hmm.
or that phrase, that terminology was used like, oh, well, my superpower is this, or everyone kind of has their own superpower
Hmm.
or their competitive advantage. And I did it on one of the first episodes. I just randomly asked the person what their superpower was. And for me, it clicked, and I was like, oh, that I really like that. I like getting into that because it shows a different side. Like all these people are entrepreneurs, they're business owners, they're
Hmm.
known for what they do, but that's not all they're about. They're different people. They have
Hmm.
different skill sets. They can do other things, and a lot of times their superpower relates directly to their business, and sometimes it's something that you might not even see or notice. So I just really like that question because it's fun for me to better
Hmm.
understand the guest and what maybe led to building the brand or the business that they have by using that superpower.
Oh
And I
yeah, and
actually, it's funny. I think I did it for like 2 or 3 episodes, and then there was like 2 or 3 episodes where I didn't ask that question. And I actually had people ask me, they're like, "How come you stopped asking that question?" I was like, honestly, I forgot those episodes. They're still coming, but it was kind of cool seeing like other people are enjoying that portion of it too.
yeah, yeah, and dude, I actually enjoy that question because you learn so much about something that really actually. Funny story is, I was actually just listening to this podcaster that's going on my show here. I want to say in April or actually sooner, but she asked questions. What are your like 3 to 5 main things that you? It's kind of like your superpower. What makes you great? And then she asked that basically along the lines that she's like, what are 5 tips along with that you can give? Like, what makes you great, and are the 5 tips that you can help make other people the same way. And this was a phenomenal thought. And I'm just thinking, if I was to ask you the question, what would your superpower be, Nick?
Oh man, it's harder to answer it on the other side.
Right?
I mean, I think to an extent, my superpower would probably be my level of transparency,
Hmm.
and I guess the I haven't thought about it a whole lot on my own end.
Well,
I
could
guess
I ask it a different way? What are 5? Let's do 3. What are 3 things that you could offer someone? Best advice you could offer someone who is in entrepreneurship, or they're starting a business, or they have a business and they are a small time entrepreneur. What is 3 things? Minus not your superpower. Let's talk this. What are 3 things that you could offer someone as the best advice you were ever given as far as that?
so. Three things. One, take action. That
Hmm.
is probably the most important thing you can do. As I was starting to create content, I mean, I myself am an introvert.
Yeah.
I did not go out of my way to talk to people. I would avoid the confrontation, and I started out blogging. And I was like, perfect. I don't have to deal with anybody in person. I can hide behind the computer and just type.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I said, screw it, I'm going to take action and step outside of my comfort zone that all these other possibilities and opportunities started opening up for me. Like the podcast, I've got to interview so many people that I never would have been able to talk to otherwise.
Hmm.
And it was because I took action. Number two, don't be afraid to ask questions. It can be intimidating to see other people in the space that are crushing it and think that, okay, well, if I go and try to ask them a question, I'm just immediately going to get shot down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But I've found with a lot of people that I've interviewed and people that I've been in contact with, like these people like to help other people. If you
Hmm.
have a question, there's a good chance that they're going to want to help you and get you answers. That's something that I really enjoy doing. Is if someone comes to me with a question, even if I don't know the answer, I'm probably going to put in a decent amount of effort to find an answer for you, or at least push you in the right direction to get the answers you need. So take action. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And lastly, do what makes you happy.
Hmm.
There's so much, like we can get caught up, especially if you're talking about trying to start a business. It's really easy to get caught up in the money side of things. And this is the amount of money that I need. And if I have that amount of money, then that's what's going to make me happy. Well, that end goal isn't what's going to make you happy. You could
Hmm.
be the most successful person in the world, and you're just going to want to keep getting better and better and better. At least that's always been my mindset. I'm a very competitive person, so once I reach one level, I'm not just going to stop at that level. I'm going to want to get to the next level.
Hmm.
And if that goal is monetary, you're always going to be chasing it, and you're never going to have that level of fulfillment. And that's really what we all want in business and in life. We want to be fulfilled. So I would say find something that you have passion for and try to really enjoy the process of what you're doing and not worry so much about the monetary goal or the tangible, like physical thing at the end of that because it's
Hmm.
never going to be enough.
I actually, in my business, how to obtain success in business, just did a little thing, and I said the way I realized, and I think we've talked about this a couple times before, is putting people over money, relationships over money, and building the relationships, and the success is built off of having relationships and focusing. And I talked about this. If you are a business where you're interacting with people every day and you're always focused on the money that they're bringing you but not the people, you're going to fail. But if you're focused on the people, and the fact that the money will come, but you need the people to get that, you're going to grow success. And that's one of the things I talked about. I think I actually talked about in your show that will be airing. You said April.
Yes, I believe beginning of April.
Okay. Well, I remember, I'm pretty sure I remember saying that. And it's one of the things, it's like, it resonates with me, is like, if you focus on people, people over money, relationships over money. And this doesn't, and I'm going to talk about this doesn't just apply to business. This applies to your life because if you focus on your career and your money over the relationships you're making, that you could see. And one of the things I've learned is how I've grown my podcast success is I've focused on the people that interview, not the where it's taking me. And one of the things is I'm so excited where it is taking me, but the fact is I focus on the people and the people get me to where I'm going. And there's some great guests that are coming on here soon, and I'm just so excited because I focused on what they're good at, and I was like, I would love to hear what you're good at on my show. So, hearing what you were just saying, it's like, you got to have those skills. You got to have those key elements because if you just focus on certain elements like just building the business and not focusing on like the goals you want to like, that's the thing, set a goal. You got to focus on setting a goal, and if you set that goal and like you said, you hit that one bar, go higher, keep going. Don't just stop at one bar and be happy and satisfied. I see it like as where I've hit the bar as like, oh, I hit this many users, or I hit this many downloads, or I hit this many um I hit this much, I hit $100,000. You set the bar to the next level and try and do good by the people who have got you there and prove to them that you can go a step higher. You can excel in the service or the product or whatever and make it better for the client or the customer or however you view them. But do right by them by upping the bar, making the product or service better each time you go up. Is that, I mean, am I wrong there?
No, I mean that's exactly right. I mean, thinking about it in terms of the podcast, I mean, with my podcast specifically, I bring guests on every single week.
Mhm,
And I mean, every single guest that I bring on talks about how important relationships have been in building that business. But because I'm bringing these guests on, I'm able to talk one on one with them. I'm able to build relationships with them.
mhm.
And like I mentioned earlier, they've opened up so many opportunities for me that I otherwise probably wouldn't have even seen there or had the chance to, I guess, chase.
Mhm.
And like some of these people I host weekly shows with on Clubhouse, or I work with on course creation, or I just have these weekly masterminds with.
Mhm.
And it's something that, like I said, it's the relationship side of it just kind of opened up these opportunities that I otherwise wouldn't have had. And it works both ways. They get benefit out of it too. It's not just me taking.
Yeah, and we built a relationship via Twitter, and now you've helped me grow my brand, and I may not be on the background of your brand. I feel like I've done some to help you, but like you've done a lot to help me, and where I'm going, you've had a lot to play in that, like pushing me to the podcast, like getting me out of my comfort zone, like all this stuff I would not have been able to complete if it weren't for you pushing me. So it's like those connections and those are very useful and helpful. Whereas we actually, I connect with you daily on Facebook and like, hey man, look what I did, or look at this. Like, what do you think of this? And I kind of like get your advice on things just because, like I just sometimes you can't be alone in this. And what things I've learned about this community as far as podcasting is you're not alone in the community. You're not alone in entrepreneurship. It's not just podcasting, it's entrepreneurship in general. There's so many people willing to listen and answer your questions. It's just that you will get shot down and you will get turned away at certain people, but there is people who are willing to turn around and give you some great advice and help you for free. And that's one of the things that I thought when I reached out to you. I was like, oh, he's gonna be a snob like the rest of them. Well, you were tweeting me back and stuff, and then we started connecting. And dude, I appreciate everything you did as far as connecting with me, because that's like, as far as an entrepreneur goes, you're one of the very few entrepreneurs that I've connected with on Twitter that has been the best ones to connect with. And then you've led me down some great holes and trails that have led me to speak with some great people. So, dude, thank you for that.
No, absolutely, man. That's why I do it. I want to be able to help you take action because that was my biggest hurdle. And I mean, now you've got this podcast, you
Mhm.
post episodes nonstop. Like you probably have more episodes than I do now, and you're just crushing it, and that's awesome. But that goes back to my previous point on one of my 3 points. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Mhm.
Had you not reached out to me, I wouldn't have been able to help you get this podcast going or chat
Yep.
with you or give you advice where needed. So you being able to take that first step and ask the question is really what led to all of this that's happening right now. So that's just so cool.
Yeah. And dude, I feel like we've had a great connection, and I feel like passing on to people is, the great thing about what you're doing is, you're reaching out to people, you're getting their information, sharing that information with others, and then they learn how to handle that, and then they can reach out to you if they need to. And you're pretty much, as far as I'm reading into you, you're a pretty much open book when it comes to this stuff. So like you're not trying to sell information. You're not trying to hide certain things and then give it to them later for like a price. You're giving this away and letting people know like this is how you gain success. And that's awesome, because there are so many people out there. And I was listening to this person talk on this other podcast, and they were talking about how they're a self-help guru, but they do everything for free. And they're like, if someone wants the information, financial information or whatever, here you go. Like, I'm going to give it to you, because there's so many people out there that are robbing you blind to give you this information that never works. And they're like, if you want that information that might work, here it is for free. And I like that. And that's what most people should be doing. If you're making money off of something like ads and stuff, great. But if you have enough money that you can give away information for free, then go ahead and do that. Or you have the means to give away for free. Whenever someone comes to me and asks me, hey, I'd like to know how to open a business, what's the first steps? I don't tell them, hey, write me a check. I tell them, here's what I learned. Here's what I went through, what I did to do this. So like I give it away as much as possible, because I'm a very big person that believes in entrepreneurship. Like I believe that everybody should have a chance to open a business or start an online store or whatever it is. Like I believe everybody should have the opportunities. And hearing your podcast, like especially the recent guest you had on, like just hearing his spirit behind everything, how he went like and started out with like 100, what was it, he said 100 copies of flyers, and he just went door to door. I'm just like, wow. Like and then he had that advice to like go start knocking doors. I'd be so scared to knock on people's doors. I'd be scared to get shot now. But like he had that drive. He got, and he made it work. And that's what things, like you said, like what was your thing? You like, just do it. Just go at, like Nike says, just do it. But take action is what you said. Take action. And if you don't take action, if you just sit around and write the idea on a notepad and just look at that notepad and like, I'll do it one day, and you just don't go into it, you're never going to know if you're good at it. So like this podcast, like I literally was struggled with it because I was like, oh, the equipment's so expensive. And I ended up spending a lot of money on equipment. But like that's the thing though. You can, like I told people on the content creation episode, and there's two of them up there. They're great episodes. You can use your phone. I started out with my phone, and I just edited it on the phone and then posted it. And it wasn't great at the beginning. But let me tell you what, as time went on and you coaching me and stuff, I got better. And you helped me learn how to edit my audio. You basically showed me how to do certain other things as far as like editing. And like now I've got people teaching me how to edit video and get people side by side in interviews. I mean, there's so much I have learned, and it was only by asking questions that I did that. And um you like to offer advice, and I feel like if someone reached out to you, you would give them just as much advice as you gave me. So like that's what I really respect about you, is you're a good-hearted person as far as giving the entrepreneurial spirit out and not just hiding it away.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Joel. To me, I look at the people like, I don't know. I kind of have a little bit of a gripe with Tony Robbins. I know. I think deep down he's a good guy, but he'll sell these books, and it's like
Hmm.
how to get rich, and he tells you all these strategies and tactics and stuff like that. And it's like if you do these tactics, that's what's going to make you rich. Well, that's not what's making him rich.
No.
The books he's selling you are what's making him rich. And then he's able to take that money and do what he's talking about in those books. He's able to start investing with the money that you're giving him selling those books. So
Yeah.
that's where that whole idea really kind of bugs me, is that a lot of times these quote unquote gurus aren't selling you what got them there. They're selling you what they did after they got there.
Hmm.
And I don't want to be like that. And so right now I have been giving away a lot of information for free. If people have questions, I always try to find an answer for them. Having said that, if I want this to be a something that I go to full time and be able to leave my 9 to 5 and focus on full time entrepreneurship, there has to be and income coming in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my big focus this year, is trying to figure out how to monetize the brand.
Well,
And
and that's one of the things I think we talked about as far as you writing the book with me is like you're gonna monetize a part of your brand as far as
mhm,
going on the book and as me as the main author, but you and Maddie as co-authors and writing your success stories and your information and then being able to monetize it. And who knows, maybe no one will buy the book, maybe 100 some people will buy the book, but the fact of the matter is I saw you as someone who I wanted in the book to discuss and give out advice, and I want her because she has so much knowledge as far as like starting out from nothing in a small town. And and she's actually going on the show here soon, so stay tuned for that episode. People who don't know her or haven't talked to her about her much, but um it's just getting the information out there. And I have a personal success story that I've wanted to share for a long time. I think writing this book and getting out there and sharing what my tips to success are would is just how I'm going to feel good about when people are like, "Oh, I read your book and I actually liked your tips. Like I use them." So like people like all the tips you give and stuff on your podcast and even writing in what's your superpower on the book. Like people are like, "What's your superpower?" So ask the question when people are reading this like, "What is my superpower?" Like I think if you tell your story and like write it out like I do, I guarantee you people are going to be really appreciative, just like I was hearing the side of the entrepreneurial spirit that you have. So that is something that is in the works, and we will discuss it more hopefully after broadcast, just what's going on with that. But dude, I'm really excited to see where your podcast is going to go. I know we had a conversation today and I won't really go into details but about your podcast, and I'm just excited to see where you're going to take it, and what you're going to do with your brand, because it is a brand, and just like IT Tech Talk is a brand. It's my brand, and I'm branching out and I'm spreading my wings, and I actually have I think you've noticed that it become more of a business slash entrepreneur slash tech podcast. It used to be just tech. And I was like, you know what? I really want to start doing what Nick does and start interviewing entrepreneurs. And I was like, I got to start getting on this. So I actually took action, like you said, took action, and I went and did it. And I reached out. I literally, I don't think I told you this, but I sent like over 150 messages out to people, emails and response on Instagram, and got like at least 20 back. And I was just like, and the fact that I
wow.
got those back, it was like great. It was like, oh my gosh, like this was awesome. So, like, I just, and like you said, just take action. And I did. And I'm glad I did, because I really want this podcast to be not just something I go on every day and just talk with great guests. I want it to be something where people can gain information. And one of the comments people had made to me about my podcast is I'm very informative. They say the guests that you get on are informative, and they say, "Oh my goodness, like I learned so much from that episode, or there was something in that helped me as a person." And when I hear that, I'm just like, "What? Really? Like I was just speaking from my heart, just telling you how it is." I'm trying. And another thing I've heard is I'm very real. Like people can relate. They're not just like, "Oh, he's fake." Like he's just trying to discuss things. Like you're very real with your guests, you're real with yourself, you're not trying to hide behind a facade. And that's one of the things I even think on your podcast, where when you talk to them, it feels like it's a one-on-one conversation with a best friend, and you just met them basically. And it's
Mhm,
like, wow, it's like that's what you want, though. You want that connection, you want that community. And we've talked about community before. You want a community of people who help other people, and give that information out, so that even though it is needs to be monetized at some point, giving it out so people can get themselves started. And that's one of the things that you've done with me, and I'm sure you've done with other people as well in your friends list. So yeah, we're about to close out here, but another question is where do you see, let's say, 3-year goal? Where is your 3-year goal with this podcast, or your branding? Where do you see yourself going in 3 years?
So I would say within the next 3 years, I will at that time be out of my 9 to 5.
Hmm.
I'll be focusing on the brand full time. Really, I want the podcast to kind of be a platform to work in conjunction with the brand. I want it to all
Hmm.
that we're developing basically an ecosystem around the brand, and I want it to be an educational brand. So if you do have questions, I just released a course now, I want to build up this bank of courses, bank
Mhm.
of content that people can come to if they need information on any given topic, because I've studied a lot of different topics as it relates to online business, and being able to kind of create that information so that if someone has questions, they can always come to it. And
Mhm.
if they want to be a part of the community, they can be a part of the community where everyone's wanting to help each other. So I think that's kind of where I envision this brand going.
Mhm.
Hopefully, hopefully I can see that through. But a big part of that right now, I think, is the monetization. That's the stuff that is attractive to people. That's what's ultimately going to get me outside of the 9 to 5, and that's kind of where this year's focus is. And I'm hoping within even the next year, year and a half,
Mhm.
I can kind of realize some of those goals and then really think a lot bigger picture beyond that.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. I still am trying to figure out where I'm taking this brand, my brand, because it's like there's so much going on right now. I'm just like back to back, and I'm just like, well, it could go one way, it could go the other way. I could lose all my subscribers and everything the next day. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see where you're going to take it. And actually, I hope we can keep communicating back and forth as far as what's going on, because I really want to like give you any help you need and stuff as far as helping you. I'm sure you don't need help because I'm sure you've got it all handled. But like if you need anything, I try and like offer my services up. But yeah, dude. Yeah, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for discussing 9 to 5. I do look forward to getting you on next couple well, maybe not next couple weeks. I'm pretty book solid, but getting you on to discuss some topic that we could think of, or even just discussing. And actually, one of the topics I would like to discuss with you is just entrepreneurship. Like as a whole, and just going over it, and discussing it. And so, for those who don't know, there are a few guests coming on that are CEOs and founders in the next couple of weeks, and they have their own businesses and stuff. And I'm actually going to be discussing how they got entrepreneurship and stuff. So please tune in to hear those people speak. It's a lot of great guests coming on, and I'm actually excited because a couple of the guests are like big time speakers, have prominent speaking positions in the world. So please tune in to hear those. Nick, thanks again for joining me. I hope to have you on next few weeks, maybe next month. So
Yeah, man, I appreciate you bringing me on. It's always fun to chat with you about this, and yeah, we'll definitely make another episode happen.
awesome, awesome. All right, everyone, stay safe. Thank you for tuning in.